guys, welcome to another speed build. I hope you're all having a great day. I know it has been quite some time since I have posted a video, and I have not really kept you guys updated of what's been going on in my life and why I have not been updated, and I will be talking about that a little bit in today's video, especially in the beginning of the video. So if you are new to my channel, then of course welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. It might not be of any interest to you to hear about why I have not been here, but I would love if you guys would stick around in the beginning of the video and listen to the reason why. And then after I talk about why I've been MIA, I will be getting into the details of today's speed build. But just to brief on the speed build a little bit, it is a large family home. It's actually a 2-unit family home. So I built this with like more like 3 generations in mind. I figured like the main family lives in the left part of the house, like the main part of the house, and that's like 2 parents with a few kids. I have built this quite a while ago. I think it was in like February before I stopped posting. I built this, and so I can't quite remember all of the details right off the bat, but as we go through the speed build, it will definitely come back to me, I'm sure. And then on the right side of the house, that is where grandma and her cat lives. And I didn't really think which child of hers lives next door, whether it's the husband or the wife. I'm not 100% sure. I guess that's up to you guys if you do download this house, but I really wanted to build a house for multiple generations that had like multiple front door entries to get in the house. And I used the residential rental lot rate to be able to make this house work even better. So you don't even have to have grandma and her cats, or maybe it's grandma and grandpa, in the same household as the rest of the family. You can actually play them as 2 separate households, and yet they're still living in the same house. So I really like that detail of this house, and it was so much fun to build. And of course, I do hope you guys enjoy the speed build as well. If you do, please don't forget to leave a like and also subscribe if you have not already, and leave your comments down below of what your favorite part of the house is. Doing any and all of those things really helps my channel out, and it helps the algorithm kick my videos out to other simmers, and I kind of need all the help I can get at this point. Since I have not been posting for a few months, the algorithm has more than likely forgotten about me, so hopefully not. Hopefully I have good luck and it still knows I'm here. But in case it doesn't, then definitely, leaving a like and commenting and sharing definitely helps the algorithm kick my videos back out into the algorithm. So first and foremost, I really want to apologize for not keeping you guys updated. And I mean, I'm not 100% sure if any of you guys have been asking where I was. I have not even been on my YouTube studio to check my comments or my YouTube analytics or anything, to be honest. I have just been completely offline altogether. So I really am sorry if I made any of you guys worry, but it will definitely make sense once I let you know what exactly has been going on. And it's been like a couple of things right after the other. So viewer discretion advised. I will be touching bases on a couple of sensitive subjects, including infertility and loss of a loved one / pet. So I guess I'll go back to February, and I was still posting in February, but something I have not told you guys, I don't believe I mentioned it. I could have in passing, but it wasn't like a big deal that I mentioned on my channel because it has nothing to do with The Sims. But my husband and I, we have actually been undergoing IVF. And in case you guys don't know what that is, it is a fertility treatment for couples that are having a hard time or cannot get pregnant. And it actually is a lot harder and a lot harsher on your body than anyone really talks about. Like they don't really talk about the complications that IVF can have. Like, it really is very safe with today's technology compared to like 30 plus years ago, but there are still complications that can happen that just really are not mentioned when you first start undergoing treatment, and definitely not mentioned to people that don't have experience with IVF or know anybody that has gone through IVF. So, one thing I want to explain before I get into like the bulk of our experience and the problems that came from it, the reason for us undergoing IVF is not a typical scenario for a lot of couples. Like, we really would not have needed this if it wasn't for my husband's prior vasectomy, and it happened quite some time ago because we are in an age gap relationship, so it is what it is. And we were not able to do a vasectomy reversal for those reasons, and so we ended up choosing to go through IVF instead, and he had a surgery to be able to retrieve his sperm, basically. Which I will be using like different terms, just FYI. And also, I am not a doctor, so do not take anything I'm saying and take advice from it. I am not giving advice. I am simply explaining our experience. So his sperm retrieval was in February, and his surgery went really well considering what it is. I mean, obviously it's not going to be a comfortable surgery. He was very uncomfortable during it, and he was on bed rest for a week, and I was taking care of him. But with all being said, it went really well, okay? And so I was really happy about that. We were able to get like 6 vials of sperm, which you guys might not really know what is good and what is not good, but typically I only ever hear of people getting like 3 vials of sperm during this particular surgery. And so when they were able to get 6 and freeze 6 of them, I thought that was just amazing. I was so happy about that. And once his surgery was over and we were able to freeze those vials, we were then able to start my portion of the fertility treatment. And like I said previously, the reason we are undergoing IVF treatment is different than a lot of couples. It wasn't anything to do with me and my body. So I was never told this by the doctor, but I really believe after all of those tests that I got and my experience that I really did not need IVF if it wasn't for this particular reason of, not being able to conceive naturally. And so my body was a very high responder to the medication I was taking. So I started taking the medication in the beginning of March, and I think I was still posting at this time. Like, I might have slowed down posting, but I was still posting. And I was on a schedule to take 2 injectable medications every evening, and that was to stimulate my ovaries. To help produce more than 1 egg is the ultimate goal of stimulating your ovaries for IVF, because not all eggs will be mature. I mean, I'm not going to get too deep into all of the details for sake of keeping you guys, on track of the build. I know this is not an IVF page at all. I'm just wanting to let you guys know what happened. So if you're interested in hearing a lot about the scientific parts of IVF, I definitely recommend looking it up because it's very, very interesting, to be honest. But anyways, I was having the 2 injectable medications every evening for the first week, and the second week they put on another medication in the morning, and that was to like suppress my ovulation. So I was taking 3 medications a day, and I thought that was hard, but it was actually the easy part considering all things that I will get into shortly. But as you can imagine, I had a total of 40 follicles, which typically people only have about 20. Between 2 ovaries, I had 40, and there's people that have more. I mean, I'm not like, very different in this case, but it's not the norm for IVF patients. Let's just put it that way. So I had a lot of follicles. They had me on the lowest doses of all of the medications because they did not want me to have ovarian hyperstimulation syndrome, which is a hyperstimulation or overstimulation of the ovaries. And that is a complication that can happen in IVF. You don't hear a lot about it. Like, you hear about it in passing. They definitely teach you about it, but it's not something that's like really broadcasted, if that makes sense. But after the 2 weeks of taking this medication, I was able to then go into my egg retrieval. And my ovaries were so heavy at this point, guys. Like, it was absolutely insane. Like, I literally felt my ovaries in my stomach, and I've never had that feeling before in my life. So it was definitely new. It was definitely different. And it was kind of crazy, but I was so happy to undergo my egg retrieval, and the surgery went well. The surgery itself went well. There was no complications during the surgery. They actually retrieved 31 eggs, which was awesome. But I was at risk for OHSS, or ovarian hyperstimulation syndrome, like I was explaining just a moment ago. And they kind of briefly told me about it. They gave me a paper previously before the surgery of symptoms to watch out for, but I still just felt like it wasn't on anyone's high priority list, if that makes sense. So like, they briefly said, listen, drink a lot of Gatorade, eat a lot of protein, Gatorade for electrolytes, obviously, and that will help your body like pull the extra liquid from your ovaries instead of it going into your abdomen, because that's what happens. You get your abdomen filled with water, basically water from your veins. Like, it's literally water that's supposed to be in your veins. It then just comes out through your ovaries into your abdomen. Like I said, guys, not a doctor. I'm not using scientific terms here. Definitely look into it more yourself for the more accurate explanation, but this is my understanding of it. And so I immediately felt like a lot of pain waking up from the egg retrieval, but I was still under anesthesia. And I was also very happy about having so many eggs retrieved that I really was like, okay, well, this is normal, which some pain is normal, but now I know what I was feeling wasn't normal. And so that night, I was having a lot of pain. I could not go to the bathroom at all, if you catch my drift. And so they thought that was my problem. They told me to take some medicine for that and just keep drinking Gatorade, keep eating protein. But I was in pain. I couldn't sleep. They told me that I had to lay down sitting up. So I had to prop like 4 pillows behind me, so I was sitting up. Like, I don't have a recliner, but a recliner would have been the perfect thing for me during this time. And I am a side sleeper, so that was uncomfortable, but I could not sleep on my side because of all of the fluid pulling in my abdomen, basically. And this went on for like 2 or 3 days. Okay, a lot happened in those 2 or 3 days. I called the fertility clinic multiple times. They always told me it was normal pain that I was feeling, which in retrospect, it was not at all, and I should have pushed harder to be seen sooner. But I had just a lot of pain for it. It was literally the most miserable thing I have ever went through in my life. Like, I really can't explain it to really do it justice, I feel like. But I was not able to go to the bathroom for like 2 or 3 days. I could not eat eventually, and I was not able to even drink water or Gatorade or Pedialyte, nothing, because nothing was coming out, and I just felt like I was getting fuller and fuller. My abdomen was being filled up with the water that was supposed to be in my blood, so I was also getting dehydrated. And eventually it got to the point where I couldn't keep anything down either. It was all just coming back up. So finally, by Wednesday, they told me to come into the fertility clinic and they will do some more ultrasounds and check what's going on. And they seen that I ended up developing severe OHSS, which they didn't really tell me this until after the fact, but that is what I ended up having in that moment. And there's 3 different levels of OHSS. Well, more like 4. And I was on like the 3rd level before like the worst case scenario where you can't even breathe because you have so much fluid in your body. I had 3. I was level 3. I was severe OHSS, and the fluid pretty much reached the very bottom of my lungs. So any more, and I would have not been able to breathe at all. It was surrounding my liver and all of my organs, and my ovaries were literally the size of a large grapefruit. And if you do not know, the normal ovary is the size of an almond. So if you can imagine all of that going on in my stomach and how much pain I was in, it was terrible. And I couldn't even stand up straight and walk straight. Like I was literally walking with a hunched back because it hurt so bad. I felt like an old man. Like it was not fun at all. And my stomach was so big, I looked 6 months pregnant. I was wearing an oversized t-shirt with sweatpants on repeat. That's literally all I could wear. And when I was home, I was completely pantsless. I didn't even have the sweatpants on just because of how uncomfortable and big I was. And I do not have a large stomach. I have a flat stomach, okay? All of my fat basically is in my booty and not my stomach. And it was like reversed during this time. It was absolutely insane. And I said it was Wednesday they had me come in, but now that I'm remembering, it was actually Tuesday that they had me come in. I had to drive 2 hours away to the fertility clinic. They had me come in, they did the ultrasounds, they seen all the fluid, and the doctor told me, okay, well, if you were to go home, how would you feel? I'm like, how I am right now, in pain. I mean, I don't know what you want me to tell you. And she was like, okay, well, do you think you'll be able to make it till Friday? And I was like, I mean, I guess I'll just be laying in bed like this in pain. And they wanted me to come in on Friday to get checked out again to see if the fluid was going away on its own or not. And this doctor was not my actual fertility doctor. This was like a fill-in doctor that I think was relatively new because she was pretty young. I mean, that really doesn't have much to do with it, but I don't think she had a lot of experience with OHSS patients. And so they told us, okay, come back Friday. So we left, and I was having another miserable ride back home 2 hours away. And me and my husband, we were not completely satisfied with that, but I was in so much pain that I could not care that much. I just knew I was hurting and I wanted to go back home and lay back down. And then a couple hours later, I was actually on the phone with my mom because I didn't really update her this whole time. She had no idea what was going on, so I ended up calling her and telling her on the phone, and I could barely talk. I was throwing up on the phone. Like, it was this whole thing, guys. And then while we were on the phone, I ended up getting a call from my actual, like, nurse, and, like, the nurse that's in charge of my whole case and schedule for IVF. And she said that she talked to my primary doctor, like my actual fertility doctor. He went over all of the pictures and they were like, oh no, we want you to come back tomorrow. And we may have to do an abdominal tap, for lack of better words. Like it's like a parenthesis or something. There's a real scientific word for it, but basically an abdominal tap to drain all of the fluid. And I said, okay, we'll be back there tomorrow. So they wanted me to come back at 7:30 in the morning, which tells me, you know, that's probably gonna happen. And I had to drink like a lot of Gatorade to stay hydrated, so I was gonna have to go under anesthesia, so I couldn't eat anything, which was no problem at all. But they told me to keep drinking Gatorade and stuff, which is different because usually you can't have anything if you go under anesthesia. But I guess in this case, it's different. You have to stay hydrated. And so the next day, we went into the fertility clinic, and I seen my actual nurse. She actually came in because I go to 2 different offices. It's kind of confusing, but the day before, all of my normal people were not there at that office. And so I seen people that weren't really familiar with me and my like specific case. And so when I seen my actual nurse walk in the door, I was so happy because she knows what I look like on like an everyday basis. She knows if I'm in pain and all of that. And so as soon as she seen me, she said, "Oh, honey," and then like she touched my stomach without even doing an ultrasound, and she was like, "Oh girl, you are full." Literally I was like, I had no room to spare at all, and it was filled with nothing but like literally fluid from my veins. And so I was not in good shape. They ended up wheelchairing me back into the surgery room. Like they didn't even want me walking once they realized how bad I really was. And they put me on like the bed, and the anesthesiologist came in, and he was like, "Oh yeah, you are very dehydrated. We want you to sit on an IV for a little bit before the surgery." And they had kind of there's like many different nurses. One of the nurses, not my primary nurse, but like another one that like preps for surgery, was kind of expressing concern about me drinking fluid. I'm like, "But they literally told me to keep drinking fluid because of this." And she's like, "Yeah, well, you're going under anesthesia." I'm like, "Well, I'm just telling you what I've been told, okay?" I'm sorry. But they told me to keep drinking fluid. And then the anesthesiologist came in and he told me, "Yeah, you did the right thing. You are supposed to keep drinking fluid because you're that dehydrated." And so as soon as I was on the IV, my pain was still there, but I didn't feel so dehydrated, which was nice. And then knowing I was going under another surgery, I didn't even care about, because I was so happy to have this liquid drained. And so I went under the abdominal tab. They ended up pulling out like 1 to 1.5 liters of fluid from my abdomen, and it still wasn't all gone. I just remember they actually woke me up before the actual surgery was done, because I remember hearing the anesthesiologist saying, "Okay, her blood pressure's dropping and we have to wake her up now." So they didn't get as much fluid as they would have liked out, but they got enough out where I immediately felt so much better. It was like night and day. Like I felt like $1,000,000. I'm not even lying. And I still wasn't like 100% over it. I wasn't 100% better at all. Like I still had a long road to recovery ahead of me, but it was like night and day compared to how I was when I walked in that office to when I walked out. So it was really, honestly, I'm so glad I got that abdominal tap. If any of you guys watching this, you know, you're undergoing IVF, or you know someone that's going under IVF and OHSS is a concern because you have a lot of follicles and stuff, if you end up getting it, or you know someone that does, get the abdominal tap. Don't be afraid of it. I'm telling you, it's worth it. And I didn't have to pay for that either, so that was great. They never did bill me for it, so I guess I'm fine there. It's kind of like a necessary surgery at that point, I feel like, so maybe that's why I was never charged for it. But anyways, that was Wednesday, and then Friday they had me come back to check me out again, and I had a little bit of fluid still, but nothing like it was, and they said if anything else happened, then call them. But pretty much I was recovering for a good 2 weeks, and I felt like I was better, good enough to start working on my YouTube channel again. Unfortunately, this is the second thing that happened now. That was the first thing. Now we're leading into the second thing. I don't have kids. My husband, we don't have kids together, okay? And so we've been together 10 years, and we got a couple of pets in the beginning of our relationship, and we always viewed our pets as like our babies and our children, and we love them literally to pieces. And our dogs, we have 3 boxers, and now it's getting into like the harder thing for me, to be honest. One of our boxers, his name was Jackson, and we, like I said, we view our dogs and our cats, but really our dogs, so much like our children. And we take very good care of our pets, okay? We always take them to the vet and all of this. And Jackson always had problems with his like hip joints. Like, he was never diagnosed with hip dysplasia, but I really feel like he had hip dysplasia. At the very least, he did have hip arthritis. Um, so he started like limping on his back legs, and I thought it was, his hips acting up once again, because like I said, this was something that happens quite often through his whole life. Even when he was like 2 years old, I really started noticing it, and it would happen off and on. But he didn't have a problem for a good year or two until this. And so I took him to the vet a couple times, and he had other symptoms like diarrhea. They said that could be like a food intolerance. They wanted me to change his food. And the limping, they tried to put him on anti-inflammatories, which messed his stomach up even more. And it did not help. And I really was in denial during this time. I was like, you know what? It's going to help. I know it's going to help. I see a little bit of a difference, but it's just not enough of a difference. And he lost a lot of muscle mass in his back legs, and he was a very, very strong boxer. He really honestly weighed 75 pounds in his prime. And even before this happened, like back in February, he was perfectly fine. Even March, he was perfectly fine. When I had OHSS, I started noticing that he seemed a little bit like down. I thought maybe he was depressed because he had to be separated from me, because I was like his mommy. Like, he loved me, and he didn't like to be a part of me, but he couldn't be with me because I was recovering. And so I figured, I just chalked that up to him being upset he couldn't be with me. But then he started limping like in the very beginning of April, around like April 10th, I believe, is when I really started noticing it. And then we took him to the vet. The one vet said, it could be arthritis, and here's some anti-inflammatories, and keep him on this for 2 weeks, and we'll see him again in 2 weeks in hopes he's getting better. And so it was a long 2 weeks. My boy really wasn't doing too well, and I had to completely take care of him. Like, I was worried about nothing else but taking care of him, and I just was adamant that I was going to help him recover from this. And so we ended up taking him back to the vet 2 weeks later, and that prior vet had retired, and now we're seeing a new one that we've never met before. And I liked him, though. He was nice. And we talked about a Librela vaccine, or a Librela shot. It's not really a vaccine. It's more like a shot to help dogs with arthritis. And Jackson did have a couple pounds of weight loss, which the vet was concerned about. But he said not to worry about the vet, not to worry about an x-ray until we do this Librela shot and see if it helps. And I really honestly thought it was helping. He was starting to walk a lot better, and I was like super happy. My husband was super happy. We're like, okay, great, good boy, Jackson, like, you're doing better. And we had like a cruise planned for literally a year. It's our first anniversary today, actually, from when we got married. And so we already had it paid for, and Jackson was doing better, and we trust the vet. And so that is where we end up leaving our dogs, is at the vet. They have like a boarding facility, and it's not like a kennel. Like, they literally have huge rooms, and they're played with several times a day. They get fed how many ever times a day you tell them to feed your dog, they do it. Like, it's really honestly a really great place to leave your dogs. Like, it's almost like a mini vacation for them. You know, like, they're sad you're not with them, but you know what I mean. But he was doing better, and so we left him and our other two dogs there. And we weren't told when we picked him up of any issues, that he had any issues during his stay. But I noticed right off the bat that he lost a lot of weight while we were gone. And I was thinking, he was walking better though, which is the weird, crazy thing about it. He was really walking a lot better, but I could tell he had significant weight loss. At this point, I could see his ribs too. And so I was like, okay, maybe he just wasn't eating very well because he was sad we were gone, even though we never had issues with boarding him and him losing weight before. He usually loves it there. Um, so we took him back home and everything seemed fine other than he didn't really have an appetite. So I would cook him like plain steak and cut it up for him and give it to him in small pieces and eggs, and he was eating the steak for sure, and he kind of ate the eggs, but he wasn't loving it at the same time, which was weird because he loves eggs. But he was never denying the steak. And so that day, it turned to night and he would not lay down and go to sleep. He would not lay down and go to sleep at all. Like, he would try to, but then get right back up. And I was like searching online and I was like, okay, I mean, online is saying that it could just be that he's restless from being boarded. So I kind of chalked it up to that. Like, now looking back, I really was just in denial, I think. I was scared of what could happen. And so the night came and gone. I stayed up all night with him basically because he just was not able to lay down. And so the next morning came and my husband, he was sleeping that night, so he ended up staying up so I could take a little bit of a nap, but Jackson would not lay down and go to sleep. And so finally I was like, we're gonna have to take him to the emergency vet. He's not laying down and going to sleep. Like, now he's getting exhausted and that's a whole nother issue. And so we ended up taking him that Sunday to the emergency vet. And this vet is different than our primary vet. And so, like, they work hand in hand, but they didn't have, like, his record, so I had to tell him the back history and stuff. So they wanted to give him, like, a blood test. They did an exam on him. And they ended up, at first, finding, like, fluid around his lungs. And we were like, okay. So they wanted to do an x-ray, and we said, yeah, whatever you need to do it. Because, like I said, these are our babies. We absolutely love our dogs. And when they did the x-ray, they ended up finding that he had bone cancer in multiple parts of his body. And it was honestly devastating. Like, I'm even having a hard time explaining this portion of the video, to be honest. But long story short, he was in the very advanced stages, and all of these symptoms I've been seeing was from this. And I've beat myself up time and time again that I should have got an x-ray sooner, but the vet told me that would not have mattered. Like, bone cancer is something that is very, very harsh and spreads very fast, and there's really no treatment for it. Like, you can amputate and do radiation, and they still could only have a year to live after that. Like, it's a very harsh cancer. And so we ended up having to make a very difficult decision that day, and I'm sure you guys can imagine what I'm talking about. So we ended up losing him that day. That was on May 10th, and so it's only really been a couple of weeks, and I'm still pretty devastated about it. I'm trying to get my mind off of it, and that is why I am back doing, like, my YouTube videos, and I've been having a lot of fun. It's really a great distractor. And yeah, so I've been through a lot the last couple months, and that is why I have not been posting, and I haven't really even did a community post for you guys explaining that I wasn't going to be around. I just had other priorities in my life that just, they came first, And so I do apologize if any of you guys worried about me or waited around to see my videos. I really appreciate those of you that are watching today and basically didn't forget about me. You guys really are awesome, and from here on out, I have nothing planned other than focusing on my YouTube, and I have several videos and builds ready to go at this point. And so, yeah, I really hope to see you guys again and you come back to watch all of my future videos. I am going to start posting 5 days a week actually, so I'm pretty excited about that. Hopefully I'm able to do it in the long run. I don't think I should have a problem because I have just so much time on my hands again. And yeah, so a little bit of good news after all of this bad news is that I am prepping for my frozen embryo transfer for IVF of our strongest embryo. I never really did tell you in the midst of all that. We did find out that we ended up having 9 embryos from 14 fertilized eggs. Like, I got 31 retrieved. The attrition rate kind of sucked. I had like 26 mature and then only 14 of those fertilized, but then we ended up with 9 embryos and we got them PGT tested, which is checking for like chromosome abnormalities, and 6 ended up being euploid, aka 100% with no chromosomal abnormalities found in that biopsy. And so we are prepping to transfer our strongest embryo here soon. I have an appointment on the 29th, and that will let me know when I will be able to do the actual transfer. Right now, it's tentatively scheduled for June 5th, and I'm hoping it will stay that way, and so I'm super excited about that, and I'm glad that there was a little bit of good news to tell you guys in mix of all of this bad news. But we have a very short amount of time on this video left. I didn't realize how long that story was going to take, and so yeah, my apologies that I didn't really talk much about this build. It really has come together at this point, and I actually really love this build. I think it came out really good. The way that I'm doing this landscaping is like so pretty, and those new hydrangeas from Royalty and Legacy are literally gorgeous. Those are my favorite flowers in the game now. Like, they're way better than the base game ones. I feel like these match the art style of The Sims 4 a lot better than the base game ones do, and they just look fuller, and I like the actual like flower part of the hydrangea better. I think it's just so pretty. I love it. So something that I have been loving to do in my builds recently, well, I guess not that recently, but a lot lately in the last 6 or so months, I've been really loving to create this sort of like screened in pool area, and I use the windows and doors from the Greenhouse Haven kit to make it look screened in. And so you'll see like it's a mesh screen on the windows and the door, but the roof, unfortunately, we don't have a roof swatch that is like a mesh looking material, and so it's a glass roof technically, but I like to pretend that it's actually mesh and not glass. And I obviously do the white trim. I know a lot of them in real life is a black trim. The majority of them are, but I just really love the white trim. I think it just looks so pretty, especially mixed with the white trim on the house. And so I really like how this one came out. There's a little bit of a solid area underneath the mesh screen windows, and the reason why it looks like that is because I have this whole house built on platforms instead of a foundation, and I made like a fake foundation to make it look like a foundation without it actually being a foundation, because I wanted the 2 front doors that leads to both parts of the house to be different levels. I wanted it to look a little bit like a split, level house, even though it looks more like one level. I didn't really succeed in that at the end of the day, but it does look really nice with it having a little bit of a different height and foundation. Like, the side where the grandma lives is like 2 tiles up, and then the side where the rest of the family lives, I believe it's like 4 tiles up if I'm not mistaken. Maybe 3, but I think 4. Well, actually, I went back and I counted, and it's actually 5. So it is quite a big difference between the two, and I just think it gives like such a good detail, and it was really fun to build too. And then we have a really nice outdoor area, and there is a sliding glass door that leads from both units of the house, grandma's unit and the family's unit, and so they share like the backyard area. And there's like that big pool. There's a couple of different foundation heights out there. I have like a picnic table sort of thing, like a patio table. And then there's like a little lounge area. And there's also, when you go down the lounge area steps, there's more lounge chairs so that your Sims can work on their tan or maybe catch a nap on a good day. And it's a great area to throw like a backyard barbecue or any sort of like family party. I just absolutely love the way this whole backyard area turned out. There's also a modular playground for the kids, and this whole house turned out so cute. This house honestly seems so fun and perfect to play in if you're a huge family game player and you're like playing a generational save file and you need a house for the founder of your legacy maybe, or like the previous heir, and then their like younger family that you're continuing to play that legacy with. This is like the perfect house for that. And if you are wondering the exact lot I built this on, it is in Willow Creek, and you can see in all of my videos pretty much, unless I change the name, which I don't really do for the most part, you can see the name of the lot in the top left-hand corner, and this one is the Riverside Roost. I tend to build here a lot. I absolutely love this corner lot. It's like my favorite in Willow Creek. But we have reached the end of our build for today. Thank you so much for those of you that have stuck around to this portion of the video. I appreciate it so much, and I really hope you guys have a better understanding of why I have been gone and why I have not been posting. Going forward, I am here to stay, and I will be posting consistently once again, so I'm super excited about that, and I'm excited to hear from all of you guys. I've definitely missed you guys, and hopefully you guys missed me too. But I do hope you enjoyed today's build. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like and also subscribe if you have not already, and comment down below what your favorite part of today's build was. I hope you all have an amazing day or night, and I will see you all in the next one. Enjoy the screenshots, guys. Bye.